Welcome, dear listeners, into Night's Story. Before men forgot how to see, the skies whispered in shapes of mist and shadow. Thomas, a quiet soul from the coastal town of Oakhaven, lived beneath those heavy skies, blind to the warnings drawn above. But warnings do not wait forever. When he finally looked up, the heavens did not whisper. They roared, and by then it was already far, far too late. Within the shadowed confines of this study, amidst forgotten lore, lies a tome bound in hide older than memory. It speaks not of earthly matters, but of the heavens, and the silent spectral language whispered across the canvas of the sky. For the clouds, it dictates, are more than mere vapor. They are conduits, canvases upon which unseen forces paint warnings, prophecies, advice. Ghostly shapes form and dissipate, carrying messages meant only for the attuned eye, a constant silent celestial gambit. Each soul, the tome asserts, is granted 3 such significant warnings in their lifetime. 3 moments where the veil thins and the ethereal battle between benevolent and malevolent forces manifests directly overhead, sketched in ephemeral white and gray. Consider young Thomas, a clerk residing in the coastal town of Oakhaven. He walked beneath the same skies as all men, yet initially saw only weather, oblivious to the coded messages drifting far above his daily concerns and routines. His first warning manifested subtly, a cloud formation, fleetingly resembling a fractured stone archway, drifted over the old town bridge he crossed daily. A curious shape, easily dismissed as fancy by his logical, unsuspecting mind. Days later, a tremor, minor but unsettling, caused a parapet stone on that very bridge to loosen and fall, moments after Thomas had passed. He heard the crash, glanced back, but attributed his safety to mere coincidence, not celestial intervention. The tome explains, acts of kindness, moments of genuine altruism, empower the benevolent whispers in the sky. They gain strength, their warnings potentially clearer, their forms less ambiguous. Thomas, preoccupied, rarely considered such matters. Conversely, selfishness, apathy, or cruelty feed the opposition. Malevolent forces find purchase, their influence stronger, especially, the text warns, as daylight fades. Dusk is their favored hour, when shadows lengthen and the sky bleeds into night. One afternoon, Thomas performed a small, unexpected kindness, returning a dropped purse to a distressed elderly woman. He felt a fleeting warmth, unaware he had subtly tipped the celestial scales, just as his second warning began to gather. It concerned the sea serpent, a treacherous shoal known for wrecking unwary fishing boats. That evening, planning a coastal walk near the serpent's reach, Thomas noticed a cloud distinctly shaped like a coiled, thrashing serpent directly above the perilous waters. The shape was undeniable, chilling. He hesitated. The memory of the bridge, the near miss, surfaced. Was it mere pareidolia, his mind seeking patterns? Or was this the tome's truth made manifest? Doubt warred with a primal rising fear, heeding an unfamiliar caution, perhaps amplified by his recent good deed. Thomas abandoned his walk, turning back towards the town just as a sudden, violent squall erupted over the sea, precisely where the serpent cloud had hovered. Safe indoors, listening to the storm rage, Thomas felt a cold dread solidify. Coincidence seemed too thin a shield against such pointed occurrences. He retrieved an old, inherited book, the very tome described, its existence previously ignored. He read for hours, the arcane text confirming his fears, detailing the celestial warnings, the eternal struggle, the significance of the third and final sign, and the dire consequences should the watcher misinterpret or failed to heed the sky's command. Days turned into weeks. Thomas became obsessed. Every cloud held potential meaning, every sunset brewed anxiety. He neglected his work, his sleep, his gaze perpetually fixed upwards, searching for patterns, dreading the inevitable arrival of the third sign. He documented shapes, a fleeting dagger near the miser's house before his sudden illness, a dove shape above the church during a wedding. Some seemed benevolent, others ambiguous, but always he felt the weight of the third warning looming. The tome spoke of specific malevolent shapes favored by the darkness, the grasping hand, the shrouded figure, the broken crown. These were said to manifest most strongly at dusk, direct challenges from the void, demanding immediate, often drastic action. Thomas tried to bolster the good side. He forced acts of charity, helped neighbors with chores, donated scarce shillings. Yet his fear tainted the deeds. Were they genuine kindness or merely frantic bargaining with the indifferent heavens? He neglected his own well-being, his small apartment growing cluttered, meals skipped. His focus narrowed solely to the sky, particularly the western horizon, as evening approached, the time the tome designated as most perilous. His vigil became all-consuming. Friends noted his decline, his withdrawn nature, his constant unnerving skyward glances. They offered help, concern, but Thomas waved them away, unable to articulate the cosmic dread that held him captive, the secret only he and the tome shared. His fear grew teeth. He began seeing menacing shapes in innocuous cloud, interpreting shifting vapor as threats. Was that a claw? A sneering face? Paranoia tightened its grip, blurring the line between celestial message and psychological projection. The memory of the serpent cloud, once a source of validation, now fueled his terror. If the sky could warn so accurately, it could also condemn. The third warning, he felt certain, would not be a suggestion, but a final, terrifying command. He reread the passage about ignoring warnings. Should the watcher fail his sight or choose defiance in the fading light, the darkness claims its forfeit right. A life taken. The stakes were absolute. Fear was his constant companion now. Then, one evening, as the sun bled below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised violet, it began to form. Not subtle this time, not ambiguous. The third warning, the final test. It was the grasping hand, one of the most feared shapes described in the tome. A colossal, skeletal hand formed of dark cloud, reaching down from the heavens, its fingers aimed directly at Thomas's small apartment building. Thomas saw it from his window. Raw terror, unlike anything he had ever known, seized him. This was it, the darkness claiming its forfeit. The hand pointed at his home. The warning was clear. Flee. Flee this place now, or be crushed. Panic erupted. The tome's words screamed in his mind. Heed the sign. He scrambled, grabbing nothing, coat half on, stumbling towards the door. The oppressive silence of the apartment felt heavier than stone, the air thick with impending doom. He burst out into the empty twilight street, heart hammering against his ribs. He didn't dare look back, running blindly away from his home, away from the grasping celestial hand, convinced he had cheated death by mere second. He ran until his lungs burned, finally collapsing several blocks away, gasping for breath. He huddled in a shadowed doorway, shivering, waiting for the sound of collapsing timbers, the roar of destruction that surely must follow such an omen. Silence. Only the distant cry of gulls, the sighing wind. No crash, no screams. Hesitantly, heart still pounding, Thomas crept back, peering around corners, drawn by an unbearable need to see the aftermath, the proof of his salvation. He reached his street. His building stood unharmed. Lights glowed warmly in windows, including his own. Nothing had happened. The hand had pointed, threatened, and done nothing. Confusion warred with the receding tide of terror, and then a sickening realization began to dawn, cold and sharp. The tome warned of the darkness claiming its forfeit if the sign was ignored. But what if the evil wasn't in the threat itself, but in the interpretation it forced? The hand hadn't warned him of destruction. It had commanded him to flee, to abandon his home precisely at that moment. Why? What had he left unguarded? What small, crucial event transpired in his absence, orchestrated by his fear? He remembered the vague mention in the tome, dismissed before. Some malevolent cloud formations weren't warnings of direct harm, but misdirections. Feints designed to manipulate the watcher into action serving the darkness's true, hidden purpose. The forfeit wasn't his life, crushed by a phantom hand. The forfeit was something else, lost or enabled because he fled. The evil cloud hadn't lied about danger. It had simply lied about where the danger was. The true horror was the manipulation itself. The sky watches, it warns, it advises, and sometimes it deceives. The greatest battles are not always fought against tangible monsters, but against the fear they sow within the vulnerable human heart. Be wary of the shapes you see overhead. Thank you for watching another tale from Beyond the Veil. If you have enjoyed our spooky story, feel free to drop a comment below, like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you dare. And want to see another horror? Click on the screen now to watch our next tale of terror.